Howdy folks, and welcome to another Taste of a Gameplay video, this time for the French Tier 8 Premium Battleship, the Picardie. As always, these videos are designed to give you a sample of the gameplay of the ship, not to be an exhaustive analysis. I recommend the Wargaming Wiki or other content creators. So, the Picardie. I was really curious when this one came up, because the only thing I knew about it from a distance, I don't think I'd ever played this ship before, maybe once, but the only thing I knew about it was that people who should know better, content creators I watch, the people in my clan, all said that the Picardie was a piece of junk, like legendary for being one of the worst ships in the game, which is impressive because the game has a lot of ships and has a lot of bad ships, but people said this was just not a good ship. I didn't really know why, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I did a little bit of research before I played the game, but again, with 500-600 ships to get through, I don't have time to do much more than some cursory research and then just load this sucker up. It's kind of part of the charm of the series is that, you know, I'm not an expert. I haven't micromanaged and studied everything, and I typically don't change up my commander too much. I usually use a premium commander if it's a premium ship, or I load up like a 10 or 14 point commander. Anyway, point is, I'm not min-maxing these ships. I'm just kind of giving you the surface level impression. And I mean, this game's going to go okay. I think I'm going to play all right. The damage numbers are going to be pretty mediocre, but I'll get 3 kills and help out with my flank, and I'm not going to die. It's a little bit of a blowout, so it's kind of hard to tell. But the one thing that I'd heard was that the guns were trash. And in particular, the dispersion was really bad and the pen was really bad. I mentioned the thing about the pen because I want to explain why I'm firing so much HE at the beginning of the game, because basically the little bit of research I did scared me into thinking that the pen on these guns was so awful that I really just needed to fire HE. I don't typically fire a lot of HE when I play Battleship. I tend to think that if you know what you're doing and you're a skilled player, that AP is often a better choice. But I was like, well, okay, if the pen's that bad. And then I just got burned by the dispersion. I mean, the dispersion is bad. It's just not good. And you find that a lot with these ships that have like 16 guns. I mean, it's tough as a game designer, right? If I give a ship 16 guns, I've got to do something to balance that out. And the easiest thing to do is either reduce the alpha or increase the dispersion, or both. In this case, that kind of did both. The alpha on the HE guns is bad. It's 3,400. The AP is a little better at like 7,450, but still, you know, that's not particularly great. So yeah, I mean, 16 guns is great. And of course, the gimmick of this ship, as with many French ships, is a reload booster. So you're like, okay, I get 16 guns and then I get to fire them twice or maybe even 3 times. That sounds really OP. And I mean, of course it is overpowered. And so to balance that out, I just have to make them not very good. They're not very good. Of course I should be firing AP at this Bismarck. And finally I do think I realized, like, oh man, like this is a mistake. But I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm not hitting anything, right? Only 2 of those shells hit. So it wouldn't matter if I was firing HE, AP, or, you know, SAP, or, I mean, you know, it just doesn't matter. I didn't hit. Yeah, I don't know. It's the Picardie is not the kind of ship I particularly want to play because I actually don't like bad dispersion. It's funny, the dispersion on this ship was so bad that I kind of almost started feeling like it didn't really matter where I clicked or where I was firing. Because the ellipse was so big that it just didn't matter that much. I might hit or I might not, no matter where I shot. And that's not a good feeling, right? I tend to much prefer ships like the Tsurugi, where it's like, okay, there's only 6 shells, but you get incredibly good dispersion. And, you know, if you know what you're doing and you aim correctly, you're going to do a lot of damage. This is the opposite of that. This is just throw a lot of crap at the wall and see what sticks. I think one of the reasons I was thinking, you know, why does this ship have such a bad reputation? I think part of the issue is one of the things the ship actually does have is really good range. It's 22.7. And so I think there's a temptation there to just sit at that range and fire these guns. And I can see now from experience that if you do that, you're just not going to hit anything, and it's going to feel really bad. You're just going to be like, I can't hit anything. And it's partially the ship's fault, but it's also partially the way you're playing it. So you just can't shoot at things at 22.7 kilometers. Of course, that's what I'm going to mostly do this game. Yeah, I mean, this is not one of my, like, okay, why am I shooting HE? Why am I shooting HE at this Baltimore, right? This Baltimore's probably like, hooray, it's my lucky day. This idiot's shooting HE. Yeah. One of the interesting experiences about doing this series is, you know, as a player that, again, I think I'm above average, but I'm certainly not an expert. It is a real kick to the ego to just see your gameplay, to watch yourself play, and then put it out there on the internet for other people to watch, because some of the decisions I make here, not so great. Luckily, doesn't really matter. I play well enough, and, you know, we win the game. But, yeah, definitely wish I had that salvo against the Baltimore back for sure. That should have been AP. But yeah, I mean, is the Picardie a good ship? No, it's not. Is it as bad as people said it was? I don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's legendarily awful. I think it just has this issue that honestly a lot of tier 8 battleships have, which is that, you know, at tier 9, the ships can just have sort of minor flaws. You know, basically, if you think of tier 10 ships as being the ideal, then tier 9 has to have some kind of like downside. But then tier 8, they often feel compelled to have even more of a downside. And sometimes I think they overdo it, because tier 8 ships have to fight against tier 10 ships. You know, I'm lucky that this is a top tier game. Like I'm top tier in this game. Also, my team's just going to play really well. But, you know, if you have to fight against tier 10s in this thing, I mean, you're either going to have to close to a really tight range. This poor guy driving the Florida. I think I just played the Florida the other day, and yeah, the ship's not so great. There's a lot of these kind of tier 7, tier 8 battleships that are kind of flawed. I mean, they can still be fun, right? You're still driving a battleship. You're still shooting big guns. You can make it work. The player skill, I firmly believe player skill has way more to do with it than the ship itself. Yeah, I'd rather have a guy like Trent Lasser PQ driving a Picardie than, you know, me in a Massachusetts. And I'd rather have me in a Picardie than, you know, some 40% win rate player in a Massachusetts. Like, it's just, you know, at the end of the day, you need somebody to drive the ship and aim the guns, and positioning is so important, and that's true no matter what ship you have. But having said that, this is not a good ship. These guns are just, I mean, look at this, this dispersion. It's so bad. Yeah, I think anytime you see a tier 8 ship and it has 16 guns, you better start asking a lot of questions, because it either is ridiculously overpowered or it's going to be really frustrating. You know, when you see a ship with 6 guns, they can be really good, and that's not overpowered. But when you see a ship with 16 guns, there's probably a catch. It's too good to be true. Yeah. It's funny, there's a Xinjiangguo 14 in this game. I hardly ever see those. I just played that one the other day. Hardly ever see that sub. But yeah, good game. Yeah, I said it was a blowout. I mean, I guess it's not a blowout. It's a clear victory, but it's not so bad. Look at that dispersion. It's just so... To be fair, that might have been the shot I fired without lock on, but even still, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I guess it just depends on what you want, right? I don't want guns with terrible dispersion, but then I just get more of them. That doesn't feel satisfying. I'd rather have, you know, it's like telling me I get to eat at McDonald's, but then I get to eat there twice in a row. Like, well, I don't really want to eat there once, much less twice. Now, this is not a game that shows off the Picardie's quote-unquote strengths. I mean, obviously, if you're closer in, then dispersion matters less. So, you know, you're obviously going to get more hits. See, a lot of those overpens are because, again, they're really part of the bad dispersion. What you're seeing there is that the shells are just going high into the superstructure, the ones that don't just flat out miss. I mean, to be clear, some of this might be a skill issue, but I mean, I think my aim in this game has been pretty good. I mean, that that dispersion, that ellipse is huge. And now, of course, I made the opposite mistake. I was shooting HE, and then I overcorrected to AP, and now I'm shooting too much AP. And then just when this Mutsu turns broadside, I'm going to switch back to the HE. So yeah, my shell choices in this game are not really the best. But anyway, I guess the good news is it really gives you a sense of what the Picardie is and what the Picardie isn't. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be, but I can't say that I recommended this ship. I don't think you're going to have a particularly great time, especially as a premium. This ship almost resembles, to me, a tech tree ship, you know, the kind of ship that you have to grind through to get to other ships. This is not a ship that I would want in and of itself. And so, you know, as a premium, you have to ask, why would I buy this? And I think the answer is, yeah, don't. So, yeah. I mean, 3 kills is good. I feel like I had some battle impact. I think we're going to end up in the middle of the tier, halfway through. But maybe like 1100 XP. So, you know, I mean, not a tragically terrible game. Probably looks okay in PR, but and obviously I could have played better, but yeah, the ship's not helping me out, especially in a game like this where nobody got all that close. Like, we deleted most of the enemy ships at range. There really wasn't a lot of brawling in this game, period. And I'm behind the battle, but I mean, I wouldn't say I'm ridiculously out of position. I mean, that's just where I spawned, where I headed at the beginning. You know, we needed me on that flank. So, yeah, I mean, that's the Picardie. Didn't quite live up to its reputation as the worst ship in the game, but certainly didn't do too much to change my mind. I don't think I'm going to be a Picardie enjoyer particularly as we wind out this game. You might think like, okay, 16 shells, I mean, that might be good against destroyers. But again, the dispersion is so bad, you're just never going to hit anybody. You're never going to hit a destroyer. Even at pretty close range, you're just not going to hit them. And if you don't hit them, it doesn't matter how good the shells are or bad. So, yeah, it's interesting. There's certain stats in the game that are just incredibly important, and dispersion is one of them, which makes it kind of unfortunate that Wargaming does such a bad job of showing you that stat. You know, they tell you the dispersion, the size of the dispersion ellipse, but there's other dispersion factors like the sigma, as well as the shell velocity, how long they take to get there. And those have a huge impact on how many shells you're going to hit. Yeah, 1100 experience. So, you know, not a good game, not a bad game. Very middle of the road. Anyway, that's the Picardie, and I will see you guys in the next one.